borders has radical implications for how we look at human history. Its territory covers Atlantis, reptilian humanoids, the Anunnaki, ancient science and symbolism, a global language and more. This is Klaus's first appearance at a Nexus conference. I gather it's his first time in Australia. So please give him a big warm Nexus conference welcome. Klaus Stoner, thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to congratulate and say thanks to Duncan and his group, his staff, because they invited me and made me able to talk to you, and the organization is just perfect. Thank you very much, Duncan. First of all, shortly, I would like to inform you how I came to do to this research. Since 20 years I'm planning and organizing cultural exhibitions from Austria to Japan, and you can imagine how many times I was in the airplane between Austria and Japan. And in the airplane and through jet lag in Japan, I read many books from Däniken, Robert Charroux and many other writers, and believe me, I was the one who did not believe that all these pieces are existing and they are all original. Then I had the naive idea it would be the easiest thing to bring all or some of those pieces to Vienna into an exhibition called Unsolved Mysteries, and then the scientists have a chance to prove that those artifacts are not original and old. And it put me really into hell, because I found some researchers, some scientists, they did checkings on some of those pieces, and they found out that we would not be able to do the same pieces from the same material in our days, and we could not prove that one of those artifacts was new made. So all of you, you know the legends and stories, old stories, talking about giants, about Atlantis, about Mu, and many other things. I found out in the last several years that many of the legends have a big portion of reality. For example, and of course I would like to say that I cannot give you shocking informations like Donna and Jim this morning, but I can only leave you with open questions. Maybe you have some own ideas, and I start with the pyramids, because you can find pyramids all over the world. I start with the pyramids of Giza. Everybody of you know them. I show you the Sun Pyramid in Teotihuacan in Mexico, 60 kilometers north of Mexico. This is a model of the pyramid area which was in former days. This is a pyramid in China, another one in China, another one in China. And the next pyramids, we got photos from a Chinese archaeologist from southern Mongolia, a very strange form of pyramids. And a few weeks ago I got information from China about a private collection which the owner got from his great-grandfather, and he found it in southern Mongolia, around the area where you saw the pyramids. The official dating of the pyramids in southern Mongolia is between 5,000 and 8,000 years, so those artifacts must be at least older than 5,000 years, but I think they are very much older. And you see here one artifact. It's a bronze statue found in southern Mongolia, and it looks definitely like the Egyptian goddess Isis. Here you have the details, and you can see here the horns and what the archaeologists call it the sun. But several researchers, for example, a Russian researcher, Professor Muldashev, he did many researches in Tibet, Egypt and many other countries. He thinks that this ball is not showing the sun, but he calls it shows the prana, or the kind of orb which is energy, pure energy. Here you have some photos of Egyptian Isis, and you can see that the piece from southern Mongolia is very similar. And the next following artifacts are made out of jade, very hard jade material, and very strange artifacts.
Green jade.
It is not known what culture did those pieces and when, but they think about 5,000 to 8,000 years ago.
Look with the slanted big eyes like the graves.
The next pyramid is from Canarian Island, another one Canarian Island, and another one. Then you can see some pyramids from Greece. This one is in Hellenikon in Greece. The next one is from Italy, from Sicily, Italy, from Sardinia in Italy, and the next photo shows how they restored it. This is a very old drawing from Tahiti, from a pyramid. I do not think that it exists in our days. The next one is from Mauritius Island. These two pyramids are from Taiwan. And even in Austria, we have a pyramid of stones. So you can see pyramids, you can find them all over the world. And I think also there was a writing existing, the same writing all over the earth, which I show you other photos following. So I think the pyramids, they had a connection somehow, and they were not all, or only some of them were really graves. I think that they had other functions, but still the scientists do not have a real answer. This photo, I put it on because I did not know that Duncan with his magazine is much faster than I. He did a very good report about stone buildings in South Africa in his last Nexus magazine. So you can find, I don't have to talk a lot, you can read a real good explanation in the June-July Nexus magazine.
From the equator.
An African owner of a fire protection company, he owns several helicopters and small airplanes for protection of fire. And he was flying over South Africa the last 20 years. And he did thousands of photos. He found thousands of stone circles all over South Africa. And the official archaeological explanation is that those stone circles were cow storages. But look at these pictures, and do you really think that those were cow storages? I don't think so, because they are exactly archaeoastronomical places or works. And I had a telephone call last week with the second finder, Michael Tellinger, and he told me that they did research with high-tech instruments inside of some of the stone circles, and they produced a sound of 14.5 gigahertz with 72 decibel, and they are quite sure that these sounds are producing a kind of energy. Another stone circle, another one, and if you look, they are mostly closed, and they have a very near connection to the stone buildings in Zimbabwe. They also informed me that they found gold mines older than around 40,000 years in South Africa. They also found a so-called Adam's calendar, because it's an astronomical site with stones, and you can see here the winter solstice sunset on 21st of June 2006.
Winter solstice.
And here the sun is exactly on top of the larger stone. And Michael told me that they are doing now researches on these two mountains, and there is a third one, he told me, which is not visible on this photo, and they are exactly located like the Great Three Pyramids in Egypt and have a connection to the Orion. And he thinks that those mountains are pyramids, but they have to start with diggings and research. They also found a few years ago in Bosnia, in Europe, two big mountains. They existed for long times, and they had the scale of two pyramids, and they did some excavations, and they found out that those two mountains were in former days pyramids, and one of them is bigger than the Great Pyramid of Giza. The government of Bosnia prohibited last year the further excavations. Here you have the picture of the Adam's calendar and some more stone circles, but as I told you, Nexus magazine has several pages with the detailed informations about them. Here, this one I got from Russia. They did an excavation close to Chernobyl. The area there is called Arkaim. It's a military restricted area, and they found also very big stone monuments, which shows that in former days they had villages but built in circle forms. And again another photo from Arkaim, Russia, which shows a quite similar stone circle like in South Africa. In May I was invited by a private research group to Sardinia in Italy, and on Sardinia there existed about 8,000 stone monuments called nurages. The nurages are explained by the Italian archaeologists as protection towers. But for anybody who has a little bit military knowledge knows that how can you build a defense tower with up to 18 meters with only one entrance and no window? How can you really protect yourself? Because if an enemy wants to kill you, he just put fire on the entrance and waits until you have to get out. And this private researching group did the last 10 years research on certain days, on certain hours, especially on the winter changement, on the equinoxial lines and everything, and they definitely have the approval that those towers were archaeoastronomical towers.
Line.
This is one inside photo, and one of the towers has a small, like a small window on top, and only on certain day of the year the sun presents the bull's head on the center of the nurage. And the bull's head was a northern star before the Great Flood, or let's say pre-Diluvian, around 10 to 12,000 years ago. The age dating of those towers officially is about 2,000 to 3,000 years. But this group and many other persons believe that they are much, much older, that they are pre-Diluvian time. Older than 10,000 years. And how can you make a dating on stone buildings? If you find a ceramic, you can date it because it's organic material. But who tells us if there were not thousands of years later, people just...
They're just assuming that that's the date.